right, good afternoon and welcome to Iwineti Africa. Just last week, Okra made the news in Nigeria. Okra was a startup founded to solve the problem of open banking. Earlier this year, basically the company kind of like pivoted to something else. One of the co-founders went to the UK to get a new job. And the story goes on and on about some of the startups we're seeing in Africa. There are the very successful ones, and there are those which seem to milk a lot of money from investors and basically go on. Today, we're going to be talking to Daxonetete William, and he's going to be talking about African innovation, reflections, innovation, how the funding is going, where the funding is going, and where the funding should be going. And all this is based on his research. So, Daxonetete, please tell us more about yourself and why you feel qualified to talk about this topic.
Okay, the last question you asked why I feel qualified to talk about the topic. Well, that's or should I say that was hilarious actually. Okay, there's no problem with that. So thank you very
Yeah.
much, Mr. Kenneth. I must say that I feel honored and humbled to be having this conversation with you. I mean, the last time we spoke, network was giving us a lot of issues considering how we met on LinkedIn and a lot of things like that. That's a huge milestone we must say we've achieved together. And I must say
Yeah.
thank you so much. It's a great privilege and honor to be in this live show with you today, Iwineti Africa, to speak on the reflection of innovation in Africa and if incubators are betting lasting challenges in Africa. I am Daxonetete William. I'm a Pan-African tech explorer. I work in intersection of technology in Africa. Basically, what I do, I'm a product manager and a business developer. I'm the lead product manager for Great Conversation and the head of Tapped Insight as well. So I work with multiple startups across Africa to see and ensure that African startups gain global dominance, knowing fully well that if you look at the statistics globally, most of the startups globally who are gaining dominance, only a few are from Africa. Yeah, that's to tell you that that's a huge problem on its own that needs to be solved. And so, because of that, I'm very passionate about intersection of tech in Africa. Actually, there are three things
As-
that actually drive me crazy about tech. Sorry for my language. I'm just a very straightforward person, so
no problem.
I can use some lousy words to describe a few things, but that's just my kind of person. I don't know how to hide how I feel or what I say.
Authentic. Mhm.
Yeah, so that's it. So, what drives me really crazy about the African tech? There are three things that drive me crazy about African tech. First of all, the young population we have. The young population we have. In
Mm.
Africa, I think the average lifespan in Africa ranges from 48 years to 54 years, if I quote the data correctly.
Mm.
Unlike lifespan in Asia, Europe, and America, which means that Africa actually has the least life expectancies globally. And that's
Mm.
to tell you that with that statistics alone, it clearly states that majority of African populace out of 1.2 to 1.4 billion people in Africa, most are within the age of 18 to 25. And that's to tell you that Africa has a lot of young population who are actively grooming every day to be the future of Africa's development. 18 to 25, we have them
Mm.
already. That's to tell you that Africa has the resources, but where are these 18 to 25 doing? Where are they? Most of them are going out of the country. Most of them are doing fraud. Most of them are into illegal business, and majority are delving into entertainment. Why? Because the system has been worked as the system has been orchestrated in a way that most of them don't think you can actually do better by actually acquiring skills and education. And this is one of the things that is driving me crazy and so passionate about the tech ecosystem in Africa, because I believe also have 18 to 25 years old populating most of Africa already. It equally means that I have a place I can actually influence certain people in Africa and change their narrative, their scope on what Africa can do and how Africa can pursue this impact. Because most of our youth don't even believe in themselves, and that is a red flag on Africa's population, on Africa's development already. Then the second
mm,
thing that drives me so crazy and makes me inspired so much is Africa's vast natural resources.
mm,
Africa is the most wealthy continent globally.
mhm,
Africa is the most wealthy continent globally. Asia is wealthy, we know. If we must rank in terms of wealth, in terms of natural resources, talent, and all of that, Africa is number one, Asia is number two. But in terms
mm,
of results, Asia, America, they dominate. But in terms of what we have that brings about this wealth, Africa before Asia. Asia is the second most wealthy continent global in terms of natural resources and talent. Africa is the number one. The last time I
mm.
checked statistics, the Republic of Congo as a whole on its own happens to
Mm.
be the most wealthy country globally. Congo is one of the
Can
most
can you double click further into that statistic?
okay into Congo,
Yeah,
right? Okay, no
people are
problem
people
with
are
that. So
confused. We're all suffering, and you're saying we're the richest continent.
okay,
I want you
so
to
let's
double click
let's
on
put it
that.
that way. So let me just speak more about Congo. Congo is the most wealthy country globally. Congo is wealthier than the United States. Congo is
Mm,
wealthier than Nigeria. Congo is, if you put okay, if Congo was to be a continent on its own, you get
mm,
now. They put the
mm,
resources Congo has in their in you put the resource Congo has together plus the resource Africa has together. If Congo was to be a
mm.
continent on its own, Congo is far richer than the entire Africa.
Okay.
Congo is richer than America. What Congo has alone can power can supply global electricity for a long period of time. Can supply
Are you
the
able to
entire
put
world.
that in figures? In figures, how much lithium are we talking about? How much coal are we talking about? How much
Okay,
minerals are we talking about in Congo?
okay. Let's start with the total carbon sequestered in the Congo soil. Congo, the
Mm,
tot- the worth of carbon sequestered in Congo alone is over $300 trillion.
mm.
$300 trillion, and it accounts for
Cobalt,
over
right?
30% of global wealth.
$300 trillion of cobalt, you said, or
Carbon sequestered in their soil, and it
carbon? Okay,
accounts for
okay.
it accounts for over 30% of global wealth. That's huge, very
Mhm,
huge. And Congo has one of the largest land reserves in Africa. Despite being a
mm,
smaller country, it has one of the largest land reserves in Africa. So Congo also have a lot of natural resources as well. They have rare metals. They have
mm,
all of these things. And that, okay, come to think of it, for years now there have been conflict in Congo. You see
mhm,
Rwanda, the M23 rebel forces. You see America coming in to mediate. You see a lot of things. You see South Africa getting into, why are they all fighting for this small piece of land? Why? Because they have something that the world yearns, the world screams to have. That the entire world knows that if we can get to this bottom root of, if we can get to this land, we can actually supply everything we need in the world. And Congo is suffering. Economically, they are suffering. They are rated as the poorest country globally.
mm,
Imagine that. That is heartbreaking. But imagine you
mm,
having, it's just like you have the wealth in your possession, but you don't know how
mm,
to use it. You are being
mm.
oppressed. We've not talked about Congo alone. Imagine the rest of Africa. Imagine Nigeria. Imagine
Yeah.
Ghana. Imagine Burkina Faso. Imagine
Mm,
Mali. Imagine Niger Republic. Imagine Senegal. Imagine Chad.
mm,
Imagine Lesotho. Imagine Namibia. Imagine Botswana. These countries, they have a lot of things, but these things are highly underutilized. Then another thing that actually drives me so crazy is the fact that Africa has a lot of brain power. We have talent. Aside from the young
mhm.
population and the vast
Yeah.
wealth in our soil, in our ecosystem, we have the brain power. But this brain power, they lack the necessary support. This brain power, they don't have what it takes to actually move Africa's innovation to compete on a global scale.
mm,
And so that is one of my lifetime mission. I want to ensure that I assist products in Africa develop and gain that global dominance using data, artificial intelligence, and any other
mm.
necessary support I can give in my lifetime. So these three things are the things that actually drive me crazy about Africa's innovation. I think I've used about over 12 minutes to describe this already. So
That
that
is
is it.
that is a lot of passion, Daxonetete. And you said three core things which are very powerful. One, Africa has the youngest population on this planet. And if I got the data right, we're probably going to be about 25% of the entire world in the next, what, 50 years, thereabout.
50 years, yeah.
And yeah, and you've also talked about the fact that we are wealthy in terms of resources, and you've just dug into the example of
Extremely. We
Congo,
are bastardly well.
DRC.
Yeah.
Amazing. And then we are also wealthy in terms of brain power. So I'm going to ask you later, a bit later, to okay, maybe I should ask you now. What do you think? What do you think we should do to actualize the power of these resources as governments, as people? What do you think needs to change, really, from your perspective?
Okay, there are a lot of things that need to change actually. I
Mm,
remember while growing up, I told myself I want to be, I started by saying I want to be a doctor. That was
mm,
in my primary six. Now it's called basic. I said I wanted to be a doctor. As I grew up, I changed. I said I wanted to be a lawyer since my father was a lawyer. So I loved law a lot. But when I got to about JSS3, I became the top best in my class. And so because I was hype, I now said, okay, I want to be an engineer. And moreover, I was already picking interest in science. So I got into
mm,
SS1. I did extremely great. I represented my school in multiple competitions and a lot of things like that. I wanted to be an engineer. I wanted to invent multiple. I wanted to come up with different innovations that can take humans into space and into Mars. So even
mm.
what Elon Musk is doing, we've thought about this a long time ago.
Amazing. Okay,
We've thought
move
about
on.
this a long time ago. So I wanted to do all of that. But then while growing up, I realized one thing that we are we Africans, we have we have bag of dreams but empty pocket. We have
Mm,
when I say we have bag of dreams but empty pocket, it's more like an it's more like an idiomatic expression if I put it that way to describe a few things. Hello, can you hear me, sir?
yes, I can hear you. I can hear you.
All
Please
right.
go ahead.
So when I say we have bag of dreams with empty pocket, first of all, there is no support in the ecosystem. There is no support in the ecosystem. First of all, we have regulatory uncertainties. You see a
Mm,
young grad getting out of school today, and all they have in their head is job, job, job. I'm not saying the labor force contributes a lot in economical growth. We need manpower, but
mm,
the system does not really support innovation like that. What our government do mostly is corruption.
mm,
What our government do mostly is corruption. And secondly, one of the things that kill most African dreams, I will explicitly state it here because I believe people out there should know, is parental grooming most times. A lot
mm,
of youth nowadays, they come from good homes, good foundation, Christian backgrounds, and all of that.
mhm,
But aside from these things are beyond religion, are beyond Christian background, are beyond school, are beyond
mm,
morality. I believe our parents in Africa should teach their children how to rebel. Rebelling
mm.
alone is the only way.
Okay.
Yes. In as far as people see
Okay.
rebelling as a bad thing, but rebelling alone is the only way Africa can thrive. We need people in
Mm,
Africa that say, no, we don't need this. Parents should teach their children how to make decisions for themselves. Stand up, be men for
mm,
yourself. Do these
mm,
things for yourself. So now let's now go back to innovation. Now, rebelling is the only way. First of
mm,
all, our Africans don't even believe in themselves. They don't believe in themselves. First of all, they lack that belief. You see someone say, I want to be this, but when they grow up, they lose that mentality. They start thinking about fraud and a lot of things like that. Plus the policies in the system.
mhm,
Our government are not prioritizing our government are not prioritizing systems that actually groom startups in Africa, systems that
Mm,
actually groom our youth in Africa. You see a lot of
mm,
regulatory uncertainties all over the continent. You see cryptocurrency come, they clamp it down, come up with this
mm,
cashless policy affected Nigeria in 2020, 2021, and a lot of things were already going south.
mm.
Poverty everywhere. People were dying because there was no money in the economy. Inflation everywhere. Corruption
Mm,
everywhere. So I feel what needs to be done in this case, I feel what needs to be done in this case is that we need we need institutions. We need
mm.
institutions that can come up and say, okay, in as far as the government is not doing these things, let us
Yeah.
do this. Institutions
Also,
like startup incubators.
mm,
We need
okay.
institutions like startup incubators, accelerators programs. We need institutions like we need institutions that can come up and educate people in management, educate
Mm,
people on how to utilize their brain power, teach people that we have this potential, but we lack what it takes. And it's not by just by teaching. You don't just teach people how to fish, but you also give them the hook to actually fish. You give
mm,
them the knowledge and you give them what they need to fish these
mm,
things. You give them the knowledge to fix these things.
mm.
A moment, please, Mr. Kenneth Giri. Can I take a little break, please? Just about 3 seconds.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I'll meet you, and
All
then
right, thank you.
yeah. All right. All right. That's been so powerful. Powerful insights, passionate insights
The
on the
vote for the listener.
corruption,
Yes, ma'am.
that we have in Africa. Passionate insights on parental grooming, on the need to teach rebellion. I don't know whether I will have to now question more, dig a little bit into that. But I like the fact that you responded as well with what we need to do, right? Which is incubator programs, development programs, hook and the knowledge hooks and the knowledge of fishing, basically funding, providing opportunities. And I like the fact that you are asking us, in essence, look, some I we probably I want to believe you're saying some African governments have failed. We have to find
Yes.
alternative ways to basically advance the cause of the African. So let's dig a little bit into that aspect of rebelling, critical thinking, self-worth, and then the courage to challenge the status quo. Would you want to dig in a little bit into that on examples of how that might play out in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Ghana, and so forth?
Okay. So please kindly ask the specific questions so I can just delve into answers.
Okay, so in essence, how do you think what you mean by rebellion, whether it's critical thinking, self-worth, and then the willingness and the courage to challenge the status quo from young people? How do you think it can play out practically in the countries of Africa?
Okay, so let's start by rebellion first of all.
Mm,
Rebellion is one of the biggest solutions. Rebellion has to do with questioning the status quo. So we cannot separate rebellions from status quo. So status quo has to be with a system that has been there. People trust that system. If it's not going this way, then you are wrong. And I believe we need to start thinking in a direction where if people are going south, you are going north. I believe in opposition, like
mm,
not like fighting the existing institutions, but
mm,
bringing up a different institution that actually grows silently, comes out, gain power, multiply, and wins the
mm,
people trust, thereby
mm,
gradually diluting the previous institution. Let's take cryptocurrency for example. When cryptocurrency emerged in 2009 2010, governments all over the world actually questioned it. In fact,
mm,
the brain behind it, the person or people, Satoshi Nakamoto, who is said to be behind it, were actually being haunted. They were haunted. They were
mm,
looked for, searched for. But it's over 15 years now, they've not been seen. That aside now, Satoshi Nakamoto actually knew that you cannot outrightly fight the government, because if you stand up to fight the government, they will do everything to cripple you. They
Yeah.
knew. So what they simply did was that, okay, we can actually align with the government. It's fine. Let's speak good about the government. Let's not fight them. But while we are doing that, let's create an alternative technology that brings about currency and financial decentralization globally. Henceforth,
Mm,
making people able to carry out transactions without depending on traditional banking ecosystem for that.
mm,
So what they did was that they came up with a technology that actually challenged the status quo without outrightly challenging the status quo.